Vault of Chronicles presents Ancient Civilizations, the first emperor in history. The Akkadians were part of the lineage of Semitic peoples who inhabited the region of northern Syria. They arrived in Mesopotamia around 2500 BCE, likely in search of fertile lands to settle. Early in their expansion, the Akkadians and Sumerians clashed in several conflicts, followed by a period of peace that proved highly beneficial for the Akkadians. They maintained trade and cultural and linguistic exchanges with the Sumerians, adopting and adapting the cuneiform writing system. But unlike the Sumerians, who valued the development of arts and sciences, the Akkadians were a warlike people who held warfare in high regard. The Akkadians were also polytheistic, and over time, their gods merged with those of the Sumerians. A good example is the goddess Ishtar, the Akkadian deity of fertility, whose origins trace back to Namu, the Sumerian goddess of the seas. The Akkadians came to view their kings as divine beings, or as envoys of the gods to rule over people on earth. Thus, Akkadian rulers held the dual titles of king and high priest. The coexistence of Sumerians and Akkadians had reached a point of harmony. However, the Sumerians still maintained most of the region's commercial control, hindering the growth of Akkadian cities. The Sumerians were constantly surrounded by enemies, the hostile kingdoms of the Elamites and Hurrians, as well as numerous nomadic tribes that repeatedly invaded their lands. To make matters worse, the Sumerians often waged war among themselves, one city-state attempting to dominate another. It was around 2375 BCE that the Sumerian king Lugo-Zaggisi unified all the Sumerian cities after a succession of battles. He ruled for about 30 years, during which time the Sumerians and Akkadians lived nearly as one people, with nobles from both cultures sharing key positions in society. Then, in the Sumerian city of Kish, a man named Sargon rose to prominence, later known as Sargon the Great. The origins of Sargon are unclear, as many of the clay tablets from that time are incomplete. It is also uncertain how he rose to power. One clay tablet reads in Akkadian, Sargon, whose father was a gardener, the cupbearer of Ur-Zababa, became king, the king of Akkad, who founded Akkad. He ruled for 56 years. After assuming control of Kish, Sargon declared war on the Sumerian king Lugo-Zaggisi and attacked the city of Uruk, conquering it after a brutal battle. Lugo-Zaggisi was captured, and Sargon, signaling dominance and contempt, placed a collar on the defeated king's neck and dragged him to the gates of his city. Following that decisive victory, Sargon and his armies continued to conquer other Sumerian cities, as well as the lands of the Elamites and Hurrians, thus establishing the first empire in history, known today as the First Mesopotamian Empire. Sargon became so renowned that he was called the ruler of the four corners of the world, and his empire stretched from Syria to the Persian Gulf, reaching as far as the Mediterranean Sea. Sargon was so powerful and influential that he was later praised in Babylonian texts, which claimed, Sargon had no rival, no equal. His brilliance spread across the land. By Sargon's time, warfare was already a frequent reality for the peoples of Mesopotamia. This led to efforts to improve the military gear used by Akkadian soldiers. The Akkadians revered lions and often depicted them in sculptures and paintings adorning temples and palaces. Records even suggest that lions were captured and used in battle. Sargon died around 2215 BCE at approximately 85 years of age, a notably long life for the era. After his death, revolts erupted across the empire, and his sons were unable to hold on to the power he had built. Gradually, the Akkadians were overrun by the Guchans, a nomadic tribe from the Zagros Mountains near the upper Tigris River. And so, after 2 centuries of existence, The first great empire in history collapsed. Yet the powerful figure of Sargon the Great continued to inspire Middle Eastern kings for many generations to come. Subscribe to the Vault of Chronicles channel. Stories you've never heard, every day here.